All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the HKT podcast. Very shortly, I'm going to be joined by the legend Emil Johansson. But before we drop in on this episode, I want to give a quick shout out to some of our show sponsors. I always want to ensure that our show sponsors are helpful to our listener base, and I think right now we have some of the best brands and products I could possibly ever wish for. So, first of all, I want to talk to you guys about naturalleafcbd.co.uk. Unfortunately, many of our listeners are going to be stuck in some form of a lockdown right now, and it can be quite a stressful and scary time. Personally, I've been doubling down on my health, and that's included making sure I am taking some quality CBD products to reduce my anxiety levels. You have to be careful where you get CBD products from and who's making it. After all, you're going to be putting this stuff inside of your own body, so you've got to make sure you are getting the best quality product you can get your hands on. Natural Leaf CBD is a family-run business based in Cheshire in the UK. All Natural Leaf products are full spectrum, which means you are getting the full cannabinoids and not just the CBD pulled out of the crops. They are organic and vegan friendly, so you aren't going to be ingesting any nasty pesticides or fertilizers. They use a CO2 extraction system to ensure you get a clean product with a guaranteed strength. What is on the bottle or tin is exactly what you're going to be putting inside of your body. Sustainability is also a very big part of this business, so all of the bottles, tins and packaging is 100% recyclable. If you want to help support this podcast and support a legitimate company that is doing this for the right reasons, then give Natural Leaf CBD a try. Just head to all the W's, naturalleafcbd.co.uk, and if you enter the promo code HKTPod10, you'll get 10% off everything on the store. All the links to the website and social media are in the show description below too. If you are finding yourself in the house a little bit more than you want to be right now, then you better get doing some chores. I've been doing some DIY around the house, and for that, I am making sure I am using Works tools. Works make the best power tools on the market and are better known in the mountain bike circle for the HydroShot portable jet wash. The HydroShot draws water from any source, such as a puddle, river, stream, or even a bucket, and allows you to get your wash on in the most remote of locations. The HydroShot power washer and all Works tools use a power share battery, so you can interchange between, a drill and a vacuum to a jet wash. Basically, just charge it up, slide it in, and off you go. The HydroShot Power Washer and all Works tools are available from select retailers only, which include Amazon, Argos, Halfords, Toolstation, and their official eBay store, or head to works-europe.com. And last but not least, we are brought to you by the Lords at Sax Underwear. Sax just keeps getting better and better. I would not be the same human without Sax underwear. And I've just started using the Hyperdrive a little more. Just because it's getting hotter, I wanted to make sure I've got a really breathable, full compression short when I go for a ride or out for a run. The Hyperdrive, it's not that Netflix series with a bunch of actors you've never heard of. It is the new full compression, really breathable model from Sax. Hyperdrive features the new ballpark pouch and is the perfect balance of both fit and function. The Hyperdrive is also moisture wicking, it is odor resistant, and has a hidden waistband to stash your house keys, phone, or performance enhancing drugs. Sax underwear starts at just £20 and available from all good outdoor, bike, skate, snow, fashion retailers, or head to saxunderwear.com. And don't forget, folks, if you want to win a set of Sax underwear, every episode of this podcast, we give you guys the opportunity to win a set. All you have to do is leave a review on iTunes or share this podcast on your social media, and I will pick someone at random to win a set of Sax underwear. It's as easy and as simple as that. All right, that's enough of me waffling on. Let's drop in with a little bit of Zeb and then welcome Emil Johansson to the podcast. Enjoy, folks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the sponsor's dream. Switched hats. Make sure that the sponsors are happy. So, Red Bull, pay this guy some more money.
Yeah, sweet.
Thank you, man. Again, really, really appreciate you taking time out to come and do this. So yeah, thank you. Welcome to the podcast, dude. Welcome to the family.
Thank you.
I know we've been going back and forth trying to make this happen, so it's good to finally find time on Easter Monday. I think it's Easter Monday, dude. I've lost track of days, to be honest with you, but I think it's Easter Monday.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was Good Friday until it was like midday. My girlfriend was like, it's Good Friday today? I was like, fuck, like I've totally lost track of days. This coronavirus got me dripping.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, we've been out digging a lot, trying to get the jumps running, and I was like, fuck, I can't believe it's Friday already. And my friend is like, it's Sunday, dude.
It's kind of liberating though, isn't it? Like not knowing what day it is. It's kind of nice in a way. I'm falling into this new lifestyle pretty well, actually. I'm kind of enjoying it. Probably a little bit too much.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're back in Sweden. We've been exchanging messages for a while when you've been out in New Zealand. So I'm interested, dude. What was that like? Did you end up pretty much stuck in New Zealand, or did you choose to stay there for a little longer?
So, I mean, the whole situation is pretty crazy, and you don't really know where to look and like what's gonna happen or anything. So, for the moment, when I was in New Zealand, I was supposed to be there for about 2 weeks, then fly out to Canada for a week, and then fly back to Sweden. But since Canada closed their border, I couldn't get in there, so I figured I might as well just stay in New Zealand because it seemed like the best place to be. Because Sweden was still fine, but if you looked on the news about Germany and stuff, it seemed like stuff was gonna get worse. And as Sweden is just further up, I figured it's just about 1 or 2 weeks out, and we're gonna have a lockdown as well. So I was like, it's summer in New Zealand, it's not that bad, and we get to ride everything. So I was really looking forward actually to just stay for a bit,
right?
When everything was a bit chaotic, and so did I. But it changed pretty quickly. On the Monday, they had this new news report saying they went to level 3, which means they closed some stuff,
right?
And we were looking at that news feed, and after they said level 3, we were like, chill. We could still stay. Closed the computer, went riding without data or anything.
Yeah.
Got back on service, and phones just started blowing up of like news notification stuff. So just after we closed the computer, they said within 48 hours we will go to level 4. And level 4 means complete shutdown or like lockdown. So from the 27th, they were going to close all flights from New Zealand. So we were basically stuck. I was like, okay, we got to find, like, at least I were at the place where I could stay for a longer period.
Yeah.
But it took the Swedish embassy about 2 days after lockdown to reach out to the citizens saying, we are working with Qatar to try to figure out and get Swedes back home to Sweden. But I mean, I tried to book those flights. There were flights for 13,000 New Zealand dollars, which is about 5,000 euros at least. And if you use this code, you were able to get a few of them for just like 2.5K.
Right.
Every time you found one flight, it didn't matter if it was for 13,000 or 5,000, it was only one seat left. So you went through and you put in all your payments and stuff, and then I never got a booking confirmation. I never got an email or anything. So they locked money from my account. I never received a ticket. So it went on like that for the first 5 days. It was pretty chaotic. And I never managed to find a flight, but my agency in management in Germany, Resolution, they contacted a local German travel agency that managed to book a flight for me. And on the Thursday night, it was 3 a.m. Eric, because me and Eric were staying in Queenstown together.
Okay.
He comes into my room saying that they're gonna stop all flights going from Queenstown to Auckland. on Friday, like on Saturday. So it's not going to be any flights from Saturday. Shit. So at 3:30 a.m. or something, we're booking a flight to get out of Queenstown to Auckland.
Yeah.
Because his flight was on the Sunday and my flight was on the Thursday. So we just catch the last flight that was supposed to departure and managed to get on that flight. If we wouldn't have gotten on that flight, we would have needed to either drive up to Christchurch, which is like a 6-7 hour drive, I think.
Okay.
If there even would have been any flights from Christchurch, but like if Eric wouldn't have catched that one and he needed to make it up to Auckland, he would have needed to drive all the way up, and that's like more than 20 hours, I think. But then we heard some stuff about the ferry being overloaded, like people just trying to get all over the place back home. So very chaotic time, but I'm home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's crazy. So you were, I saw on your Instagram, like Red Bull hooked you up with a place to stay in New Zealand and stuff. That's pretty helpful.
Yeah, for sure. They got like a house there that Red Bull athletes get to stay at, which is pretty sweet. I mean, it's a sick house and a sick view and all that. The only downside is that it's all the way up the hill. So every time you've been riding bike park, you need to walk up, and it takes like 40 minutes. But it's definitely worth it. It's so good.
That's cool. So it's weird then being back in Sweden, because Sweden's take, we don't have to cover the coronavirus stuff too heavy, but it's almost impossible to not have a conversation without talking about it right now. But Sweden's take on it's kind of different to everybody else's. You guys are just carry on like normal, pretty much. But
I mean, pretty like people still losing jobs. I have a few friends that lost their jobs and stuff. Like, it's still an economic problem. Like that's where it's going to be the most problems for people, is that they're going to lose job. It seems like, because people are not needing as much as before the virus outbreak. So for the most part, it's still pretty normal. Like people are still going out to restaurants and stuff, but that's, I mean, when I'm in town here where I live, we're not too many people. We're like 55,000.
Okay.
It's not like, it's way more dead than it usually is.
Really?
So go out doing what they need to do, but people still stay at home. Like if you're smart, you're staying at home for the most part and only go to buy groceries and stuff. But overall, the overall vibe is way less chaotic than in Auckland. Because when I were in Auckland, I was walking over like the highway.
Yeah.
Didn't have any cars.
Really?
Like, I went online and searched on that highway how it looks in the rush hour, and it was just packed.
Really?
And I walked, like, there were no cars out really. Like, you saw one every once in a while, and the buses were going around, but it was pretty much a ghost town. You saw people, but everyone kept their distance and walked on the other side of the road. So it was pretty crazy going from that to almost back to normal in Sweden, because the life I live here, I mean, I don't really go in town too much or stuff like that, so I haven't really been able to notice it too much.
Got you. Yeah, I feel like I've spent a lot of time in Sweden throughout my life. I used to pretty much live in Osterud, which is a soda shopping area, and for me, Sweden's got quite a low population, and everyone lives kind of rural, so I feel like staying distance from each other is pretty easy, whereas the UK is fucking pretty hard here, man. Like, everyone's so crammed in. Again, I'm lucky here to live outside of a major town and stuff like that, but it's still really just eerie. You go outside and there's no cars on the road, and it's like, it's just weird. That's like the biggest takeaway. It's just strange, but people are doing the thing. You know what I mean? We're on almost a lockdown, but not really. People are just advised, like you said, stay at home, only go out for essentials, and we're allowed out, to exercise and stuff like that. But a few people are not even allowed out to exercise, which is crazy. I had Andrew Neeflin on the last episode, and he was saying in South Africa, it's pretty much a complete like lockdown. You cannot go outside. You can't go walk your dog. It's insane. So
that is. I wonder how that is gonna do, because I mean, for people to even be able to have a good working immune system, they need to exercise and feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Fresh air and all that sort of stuff's a big part
so I
of
mean,
that, right?
you're very lucky if you have a house and a yard and stuff, but you're
Yeah.
just living on the top floor apartment. You're not really able to move around too much.
I know. I was watching some stuff on it was on Instagram or Twitter yesterday where people have been running marathons in apartments, and it's like, wow, it's desperate. Just running like back and forth. Like, fuck.
Definitely. Yeah, I saw that when I was in New Zealand. Someone ran around their house like 500 times and half a marathon.
Jeez.
It's pretty funny.
So you must have to be.
It's good to see that people.
Go on, sorry. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, it's good to see that people are getting active in these.
It is. That's the biggest takeaway as well, I think, is, you know, we've been doing these lockdown episodes with Ollie Wilkins, and he was saying he calls it pandemic fitness, but so many people now, you go out for a walk, like from my house, dude, like if I go for a walk with the dog, you normally would never see a single person on this trail. You know, yesterday there's probably 30, 40, 50 people out, and it's kind of cool because you're like, well, that's amazing, you know, you should be out exercising on a Sunday afternoon. But then the other side of it, you're like, well, where are you the rest of the time? Like, what else are you doing? You just shopping, watching TV? I don't know. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this, is people have almost, if you looked at it like as a social experiment of like, what do humans do when we tell them to stay indoors? They pretty much stay indoors, but then they go out and they all exercise like for an hour or two a day. It's crazy. But I think that's good. You know, it's good to see people doing that. So many people out riding. Like, bike shops are pretty busy here in the UK because people are buying a bike to go for a ride. So there's positives, but it's very scary / weird times, right? Yeah,
you gotta see the positive in it. That at least we're just trying to slow everything down to make sure it doesn't get any worse. I mean, I'm only informed by the news, so I don't really know too much, to be honest. So.
I think, again, man, I've sort of opted to not really pay that much attention. I sort of like look at the headlines and keep a track on what's going on, but just constantly being bombarded with all the negativity and stuff just doesn't work for me. So I've decided to just, you know, I check in once every couple of days, see what's going on, but for the most part, just head down, do what I need to do, you know, focus on staying indoors, and just not getting too bummed out by the whole thing, because again, it's not good for you, is it, really, to be on a downer, sort of stressing about things, something you can't even control. Like, we can't do anything about it other than, you know, do your bit and stay indoors. So so what, like, for you then, you know, with underlying health issues and stuff like that, are you having to be like extra careful? Is it
I don't think I have to be like extra careful. Like, obviously I take note and take care of everything. Like, I've tried to do my best to stay away from it. That's what I would do in any other way as well. Like,
even if it's just a flu going around or something, you just,
I always try to just make sure I don't catch anything unnecessary.
And
I talked to my doctor, and she told me to not be too concerned about it. So that's what I'm doing.
Sounds like you got it sweet then, man. Just chill in Sweden for a little while.
Yeah.
Ride bikes. Be outdoors.
I'm actually pretty stoked on being home for a bit.
Yeah. So whereabouts?
As long as there's not.
Whereabouts do you live in Sweden?
I live in Falun, which is 2.5 hours northwest from Stockholm.
Okay, right.
So a bit more up in the woods.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And from like the family home, is that a couple of like?
That is, I think it's 6 hours.
Is it?
From my mom and dad. I moved out when I was 16.
Right. Yeah.
And kind of got stuck here. I moved out because of school to start gymnasium, and spent 3 years there. Then figured I would just stay because we got a pretty good bike scene here, and we're trying to make it stronger and get people. Because the problem had been with the school is that the school had like good training facilities indoors.
Yeah.
But every summer, people would leave town and go back to their parents' place just because they didn't have anywhere to ride outside here.
Mm-hmm.
after they finish school, they just move home, even though this is a pretty good place. They moved home just because no one else were living here. But I feel like now we're trying to build a better scene than there has been. So like actually kids that go to school could see a potential in keep living here. So like the scene doesn't get ruined. Because the thing is, when you have a gymnasium like this, is that let's say you have a scene at home with 3 people or 2 people, and one is 2 years older than another, or 1 year older, or just a bit older than another, or same age, but one of them want to go here and one of them doesn't. It would mean that if one leaves to go here, probably the scene at home would probably die if that other guy doesn't find anyone to ride with.
Yeah.
So the problem would almost be that people would move up here, ride a lot for 3 years, then move home, and basically have nothing at home really to ride. Like the scene isn't really going as it was before they left. So I decided to stay here because it's a very good located place compared to where I live at home, and I got a lot of friends around here. So
yeah,
it's a good place to be.
Okay, that's cool. So this is the place, Fallon, where you moved when you were young. Obviously, you said at 16. I always like to like rewind these things a little bit and almost start at the beginning of when all this stuff started getting more serious for you, right? So you said you grew up, 5-6 hours away from Fallon, where you live now. So is that north or south of Sweden?
It's south. So it's about an hour north from Gothenburg.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So when did you first get into mountain biking? Because there's some stuff, if people haven't seen it, you've got a couple of documentaries out on Red Bull TV, which are amazing. And it does sort of touch on it a little bit. You know, there's some early footage of you riding dirt jumps. Cute little blonde kid shredding some trails.
Yeah.
But when, yeah, exactly. But when did you first see it? When did you first see mountain biking and stuff? And how did you first start getting into the sport?
It's weird because I mean the bikes has always been there,
right?
Since the start, like since I got a bike, I almost always enjoyed spending time on it. But as I started school, I saw people around school having dirt jump bikes, and I got more interested in it. And further down the line, I got myself one of them, but it wasn't really a dirt jump bike. It had like 21 gears or something, like, you know, the 3 sprockets in front and like 7 in the back. The chain always jumped off. So I had a chain guide, but that was pretty much a start. I was like 6 or 7 as I got that bike. It was a 24-inch. Spent quite a few years on that one before I started riding a 26. But I started riding a 26 when I was like 9 or 10.
Right.
I couldn't reach the ground from my seat, so it was so
Classic.
big. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, when I were about 10 or 11, this place opened up an hour from my house, named Camp Active. This is where like the scene in the southern part of Sweden were able to grow. You know, there's plenty of good mountain bikers that have spent a lot of time there growing up, and it basically made the whole scene in the southern part of Sweden grow.
Right.
It was Camp Active, and then they had this huge dirt jump park in the back, and then they had an indoor ramps and foam pit and stuff. So I was able to go there at a pretty early age and see and experience other pros riding, which was like the first time in my life I could do that, besides just going on YouTube searching for stuff.
Yeah.
I was going there when I was 11. When I was about 11, I started taking the bus there on my own, and then go ride for the day and then go back. My mom and dad was always super supportive, had trust in me, taking care, and that I knew what I was doing. So
And were they like
they
into
were
mountain biking or
up
anything
for it.
like that when you were growing up? Your parents or
No,
no?
not at all. Uh, Not really in my family. There's ever been someone that had to do with mountain biking at all. It was just like something I picked up and enjoyed doing, and then
Wow.
we talk about it till my mom and dad got bored of it.
So what were your parents into? You know, fitness wise or anything? Was it? I don't know. It's just strange that like you said, you found the sport and it's you know you've obviously got a huge natural talent for it, but there's no one in your genetic pool that rides mountain bikes. It's kind of crazy. Or
Yeah, I mean, when my dad were younger, he spent time at this spot where this spot kept living over the years, and they had dirt jumps when I started going there.
okay,
I was like 11, and he had, when he was younger, been riding around there with his moped and stuff. So like he he stayed active at a younger age as well. But I mean, mountain biking wasn't really like a thing
yeah, fair, yeah, true.
uh, at an earlier stage.
Yeah, it's true. It's fair. So
Oh,
you literally picked it up from nowhere, which is insane. It's cool,
yeah,
real cool.
yeah.
And it's
And yeah, obviously I had friends in town and stuff that were into it, and we would build like kickers and stuff in
mm,
just in front of the house. So that's where it all started.
wow.
It's pretty crazy to think back, like how everything just puzzled together to end up.
It is, dude. It's
Yeah,
crazy to sit and just like reflect sometimes and be like, yeah, I kind of, just basically stumbled upon this sport. You know, if you look at the whole picture
yeah,
too, like you stumbled upon this sport, which is now you the best in the world at it. You know, like how, there's a lot obviously happens in between them, but when you really think about it, you just fall into this thing, and then next thing you know, you're traveling around the world, and there you go.
yeah.
It's
It's
insane, isn't
crazy.
it? It's pretty crazy when you really think about it like that. So when did it, start becoming that little bit more serious? And also, actually, the gymnasium. That's a really interesting thing that they do in Sweden, right? So, which is pretty much a government-funded. Is it like a school project or something like that, where they almost invest in young talent? Is that how it
Uh,
works?
we have some I don't know the correct name for it in English,
Mm.
unfortunately, but in Sweden it's something they call free school. So like it's not a private school that you need to pay for, but it's privately owned by some company or something. But they get money from the government still
Right.
to be able to found and do all this stuff for kids
Yes. Okay.
uh,
Okay.
that want to specialize into different sports. We have like floorball, football, handball. I even think, yeah, we have alpine skiing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have, yeah, all kinds of biking. We got the only velodrome in Sweden located just like 2 minutes from a house.
Okay.
And it's a very big biking scene here.
When I first sort of learnt about the gymnasium, I used to live in the States at like a motocross camp, and the Swedish gymnasium would come over every year. And
Yeah.
when you're from the UK, there's no real program like that, so it was really interesting to learn that these kids were basically being funded to come to America for 2 or 3 months and learn motocross.
That's crazy.
And
Yeah, that's crazy.
and that's kind of how I first learnt about the gymnasium programs. And then I think when Martin was on the podcast, he was talking about being part of the Swedish like mountain bike gymnasium too. So it's super
Yeah,
interesting, and I guess that's probably why Sweden breeds so much talent, is because the government and these school projects invest into them and give you guys the flexibility to actually study the sport that you love.
yeah. Or I mean, mostly it's the school is giving us an opportunity to train 4 times a week
Yeah.
and spend time with like-minded people. I
Mm.
would say that's the number one thing. Like the indoor spot helps out so much just for someone that like I would need to take a bus 1 hour away 2 times every weekend to be able to just take my bike down 200 meters from my apartment where I stayed and go ride plenty of hours every day. It's like the number one thing that actually changes a whole lot, because like the government, for me, like for some people they pay for your apartments and stuff, but the apartments and that stuff my parents needed to pay.
Right.
And at an early age, that's something you can't really take for granted that your parents would do. And I was very fortunate that they would support me in that. And when we would go to like Spain and stuff, that would also be not government funded at all.
Okay.
So it's definitely different. Like if we would have been a different sport, like having a Swedish cycling team, it would have been a different thing. But we really do not have that since we're slopestyle, and it's not in there. So we're not as fortunate as the motocross riders you're talking about, but nevertheless, we're giving this huge opportunity to progress and ride, and it's super sick.
It is. It's incredible. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Sweden, and you know everything that they do. Pretty much, you know, I love the country and everything about Sweden. But that's one thing that's always really stood out for me is how much they invest in talent and helping support young people. I think it's amazing. Something that I think would be amazing to see in the rest of the world at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
So that around what sort of age then did you move, and what sort of age did it start getting serious when you thought, right, I need to make this move, you know, 4 or 5 hours from home and stuff to take this more seriously?
Actually, the thing that just made a cut was that indoor spot I was talking about. They closed down.
Right. Oh, what, the Camp Active closed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like what you usually seen with indoor spots in Sweden, or actually that's the only one that had it, but it's a big trampoline park on one side of the local, and then on the other side it's a bike park or a skate park, and you would see 50 kids on one side and you would see like 4 kids being active on the other side. So out of an economic perspective, they shut down the mountain bike section and built trampolines there, which makes sense because it fills up 10 times more people than bikes, because you could only be one biker at a time, really, while you could have like 6 trampolines in the same area. So that pretty much made a move, and all my friends already moved up there. So it was like, either if that indoor spot would have still been around, I was like, I could still be here, live at home, it would be cheaper, and use that money to get me bike parts or something instead of spending it on rent. But I made a move and figured it was just the best thing would be to just try and see if it was something for me, and if it wasn't, I would just move home again. It would have been way worse, just like, what if I would have moved up, you know?
Dude, exactly.
So I was like, I just gotta take the chance. It only comes around for, especially since it's like the only one in the world really that got this program, and there are plenty of good riders up here, and I felt like it was a big opportunity for me to progress and do what I love. So I decided to make the move, and I mean, at 16, I didn't even know how to wash my clothes.
16's early, dude, isn't it? To be moving away from home, it's super early.
I lived off like pasta and meatballs for the first few months, and
in
then
the same clothes every day.
No, not really. But definitely a funny experience, you know, like being around people the same age as you, experiencing the whole same thing, and like gotta do, it feels so old all of a sudden. You like, I gotta do the dishes, I gotta do this and that, and
so you're pretty much just left to your own devices. Like, do you live with anyone, or is it just your own like 1-bedroom apartment or something?
No, it's a 3-room apartment. So like, one of them we're living in their living room, one of them in a bedroom, and I was living in. I was lucky. I managed to get the section that at least had its own toilet. so I didn't need to share all that stuff. But yeah, it was like a 3-room apartment with, like, the last year I went there, we had so many bikes. I had like 4 bikes on mine, and the other guy had like 2, and the other one had 2 as well. So like it was just like you were just going to the bathroom, you would get caught in your shirt on all the bars on the way there. Just feel like it was frustrating at times. It was so packed up with all bike stuff, and you would go ride and you would crash in the mulch, and it would be in your pockets. And as soon as you get home, you empty, like, you take your pants off, and it just half the landing is on your all. So yeah, it was funny times, definitely.
Dude, what a crazy time! That's amazing. Who did you live with at that point?
I lived with, the first year I lived with a guy 2 years older than me, Lucas Skjold.
Right.
And then he moved out, and then another guy named Elias moved in, and I was living there all the time with a guy named Oliver. So they all actually now the older guy Lucas just moved back in town because he moved home and stayed at home for a bit, but then just figured he would move up here because we've also been super fortunate with Dome Adrenaline Zone opening up an hour from here.
Mm-hmm.
So we got like a good indoor spot with foam pit and airbag and all that stuff pretty close by,
right.
Together with plenty of other skate parks. So I feel like this is a good area to be right now.
Yeah. So those guys still ride? Or yeah? Sweet. Amazing. What a cool time, dude. That must have been so sick. Just living with like a bunch of friends, riding every day. You go to school in the day, riding the night. Is that kind of how it works? Yeah. Wow. And you must have put some serious hours in at that indoor warehouse. I mean, the documentary again that Red Bull did pretty much shows that was your like spot, like, training ground on the daily.
That park is, I actually rarely go there nowadays. I spent so many hours in there. Really? I was like, kind of got bored of it. Because during the winters, there were no heating in there. So if it would be minus 20 outside, it would be minus 20 or maybe even colder in there just because the air didn't move around. So you're like riding in like, I had like 2 hoodies on, like, you know, those underwear clothes underneath, and like plenty of like, one time I rode it with like 4 or 5 layers and a jacket, and I was still freezing. And you like go ride for like an hour, but your eyes just wouldn't stop tearing.
That's dedication, and I didn't have dude.
You would like come around the berm every time, and it would just stop tearing. You're like, and then you would like try to wipe them and make them stop tearing, but sometimes they would just never stop. So you would spend like a whole evening there, and your eyes would just tear all the time just because the air was so cold, and I didn't even have any goggles, and I was like,
no way. At least you don't feel like pedals to the shin. I guess that's the best thing. Your body's numb, so you don't feel anything. It's funny. Yeah,
definitely. Wow. No, I spent so many countless of hours there together with a lot of my schoolmates.
Yeah.
And if I would count hours, it would be pretty insane, probably.
Did you do much to that place too? So when you got there, you know, did you build more stuff? Did you, as you like progressed, your talent and stuff, did you have to build out more ramps or?
So the ramps have been the same for like the past 10 years, but we managed to get a bigger mulch landing when I started second grade. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge difference because the top of the mulch would be like 1.5 meters at maximum, maybe 1. So like if you wouldn't land in the middle on the top, you would like slid down the side.
Right.
So, and the other thing is that since it was so cold during the winter, we couldn't water it. Okay. So it was just like a dust cloud. So you were like, it would be full of dust. Like all your clothes are dusty. I'm probably not too healthy for the lungs either, but it's a good time, and it made a difference for me. So,
dude, for sure. Wow, that's insane. And that place is then pretty much what shaped most of your tricks at that point. You were learning everything in that one spot. Fuck.
Yeah, just dedicated training. Yeah. Trying to do everything as often as possible and stay consistent with it was what helped me a lot. And yeah, it's crazy to think on all hours spent in there and where all that led to. And
yeah. So at that point then, so you're like riding in there all the time. Are you keeping a track on like what's going on global slopestyle like stuff, and then how did you make the jump to enter like your first competition and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, a good question. Before I started that school in 2000, we used to have this local slopestyle competition in Sweden named Slopefest.
Okay.
That were all the mayhem would go down pretty much in Sweden.
Yeah, I think Martin spoke about that a little bit.
If you go back and watch like the best trick session back in 2012, I was 13. I remember watching that. It was too insane, like just seeing double flips, front flips, and people just crashing and going ham for a couple of minutes in that video. It's pretty funny.
That's cool.
And yeah, that was like the first competition I did before starting school. And then that was in 2015. In 2016, I tried to start qualifying for competitions through videos and stuff.
Okay.
Because that's like how you qualify if you don't have any points. And I didn't really have any points besides like, I don't know how many points I got for a 5th place.
Yeah.
2 years ago. They are not even valuable anymore by the time I wanted to qualify for a competition in 2016. So like as I started at school in the end of 2015, I just started riding a bunch and managed to progress pretty fast. And I started feeling like I would be able to take on at least a competition in 2016. So I started putting my eyes on that. And during that winter, Martin Soderstrom was super, super nice and hooked me up with a frame.
Sick. That's cool.
That was a really cool moment for me. I mean, like, I wouldn't expected that just half a year before that someone would do that, you know?
Yeah.
And, then, as I said, you got all these videos on your phone and you started putting together an edit that you would send out to try to qualify. I tried to qualify for Rocket Air. I didn't get in, but then I had success at getting in at 2-6 Tricks.
Okay.
And that was my first gold event that I ever attended. That was back in June 2016.
Okay, right.
And yeah, I managed. It's pretty surreal how it all happened, but yeah, I managed to win the pre-qualification, get into qualification, get 5th, and then the whole competition got rained out, which meant that I got a wild card. I was like, holy shit, I got a wild card to Diamond event. What's going on? And just like everything is happening so quick, it's even hard to reflect on what's going on. And then a few weeks go by and I'm in Munich for Swatch Primeline.
Okay.
I do that competition, get 5th. I was like, shit, what the fuck? And then I started counting my points, and I was just a few points out of qualifying for Joyride. By that time, somehow, I think it was because Le Alps didn't happen.
Right.
Or
okay.
Le J.
Okay.
Let's get his name. Yeah. So if all the riders would already have 2 Diamond events or 3 Diamond event competitions to get points at, I would be way back in the field. But since they only had 2 ones and someone didn't participate in the first one or second one, I all of a sudden climbed up the list pretty fast. But I didn't get in, so I went to Colorado.
Okay, yeah.
And that's where I managed to get in for real.
Because you won that one.
I got 3rd.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I got another wild card.
Right.
It was pretty crazy because Matt Jones won and he wasn't in Joyride at all either. So they had 2 wild cards. So he got the first one, then Nicolay came second, and I came 3rd. So I got the 3rd or 2nd wild card.
Got you. Okay.
So I barely made it in again. And then since Joyride, it just, 2017 happened.
Yeah.
And 18 went as it went, and then 19 as well. But
Anyway, you're skipping over a little bit. So 2017,
Yeah.
you became the world champion. Let's slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's super hard for me to even grasp and reflect on the stuff that's happened. And
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I was 17 and 18 during the 2017 season, and it was my first full season, and I never would have expected that anything of that would have happened, you know? That just something you could dream of happening. And it's not like I didn't work for it. I worked my ass off all week, every week, all day to get better, progress, and learn more about biking and how I could evolve. And that all just ended up leading to the 2017 results, which were way out of my expectations going into the season.
Were they really? No way. So what was it like though, showing up to certain events having not ridden some of the features on the course? Because if you're only practicing in certain locations and stuff, like, you must have got to things and gone, what is that? Like, how am I gonna do a trick over there? Or
yeah, it's definitely a bit of a learning curve. I look at it like, if you know how to ride a bike, you're able to adapt skills from certain feature to other feature. That goes for everything. Like, when I just jumped on a DH bike, it's not like I can't ride a DH bike.
Yeah.
I can ride it, but I still got to figure out how to maneuver and how to feel good at it and how to start using a front brake, like all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I definitely had some fun times. All that stuff, you know, you're like, I would go to the boat game because I got overconfident on the DH bike, and then you like go back and just grab your bar because you never have a brake lever on the left side or a brake lever at all on the left side of my bar ever, really. And I would just go grab the front brake and I would just toss down the whole thing. And yeah, after that I started being more conscious about stuff.
Right. Okay.
Get a slower pace when it comes to definitely DH bike because you're going so fast. But to jump back to where I was, it's with the features and stuff. I definitely just spend time riding it in practice. Like, if I would ride it enough, I feel like I would ride it to a point where I got so confident in it that I started understanding how I felt. Because I don't even know how that went on. Seriously. With like a step down or something, like usually you're traveling up and you could barely feel that you start falling before you land. But with a step down, you're just slightly up and then you're just falling. So that means that you would have to correct your spin a bit different, because otherwise you could like spin, and as you start falling, you correct the spin and look for a landing. But as you spend more time falling, it's pretty different figuring all that stuff out. So yeah, getting used to features. I definitely had a few risky moments, I would definitely say. I mean, I flipped my first step down at Colorado. Right. I tracked my first big drop at Prime Line, and that's not a small drop. And like, I did all this stuff on contest site, and because I didn't really have any other way to go around it, I just needed to try it. Yeah, I do it then, and then over time I started figuring out how to ride the different features and be able to do more than just very simple tricks on it and get more confident and all that stuff.
Okay, yeah. Crazy journey though, dude, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah,
like taking tricks you've learnt in a indoor park in Sweden to places like joyride and stuff. I mean, fuck.
But definitely, but that just speaks for how you're able to come out of like not the best training facility, which I find is really cool. Like, if you're able to perfect your tricks and perfect your riding wherever you are, that is going to lead to you being able to ride different stuff better than you would if you wouldn't spend the time at the spot you have. So I think it's really cool that it's possible to do that, like to ride one feature and then benefit from that into other stuff. Like I spend a lot of time riding skate parks and stuff, and I feel like all that stuff also helps, like whatever you could do on your bike benefits you in one way or another.
Yeah. No, it does totally. I think, again, like, for me, slightly similar growing up with motocross stuff, it was always like, if you can ride like a tight track, like a tight twisty track, you can ride a big track, no problem, because you've got the bike skills, you know what I mean? So similar, but yeah, 100%, I see what you're saying. Tell me a little bit then about that 2017 season, dude, because you ended up being world champion at the end of that, which must have been, like you said, you didn't expect it. You weren't really like, I guess you weren't expecting all that stuff to happen. So, fuck, what a crazy year. Crazy.
It was a super crazy year. Coming into 2017, I got my first few sponsors, really. And that itself was a huge thing.
So before, were you paying for like your own travel a lot of the time, or?
Yeah, my own travel. Like, I was fortunate that I got prize money on my first event to be able to cover my other trip. Okay. So like I was basically winning money for one contest, or from one contest, and then I would be able to pay for my next trip, and then.
Wow.
That was how it was working. So like I didn't really. Yeah, I was super lucky that my parents supported me with that trip to 26 tricks in the first place, and then since then I've managed to do all the trips on my own because of prize money. And but besides that, parts and stuff, my parents have been able to support me with. But as I started breaking a lot of stuff, it was really handy for me that I was able to get sponsored and get stuff for free instead of buying new parts every once in a while.
Yeah.
So 2017 was pretty crazy. Just that, like, I got a free bike basically, and like with all my favorite brands, and I was like, this is sick. And just that itself was a huge step, and I feel like anyone getting their first sponsors could relate to that. I had like a grassroots sponsorship a few years before that, where I still bought my frame, but for like a discount price. That I spent, like, I rode that frame for like 4 years or something.
No way, really?
So yeah. And yeah, I mean, 2017 season just kind of took off in Rotorua. I spent quite a lot of time riding that winter and managed to figure out a few new tricks that I was able to get into my contest run. And I don't even know where to start. Like, all of this stuff just kind of happened. I guess you could like call it like a flow state or whatever, but like I was just riding, having fun and progressing, and all of a sudden I just ended up third at Rotorua, and I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. And one contest after another, I ended up second in Leger, and then fifth in Innsbruck after having some mistakes, and then second at Joyride. It just like, it's super hard. Like even now, I had time to reflect on all this stuff. It's crazy for me to even like put my hand on, that really happened. And
like you said, it probably is, flow state. You're just going through it.
You're going through it, and that's the thing. Like if you're I feel like as an athlete, you're like doing one thing and then you move on to the next one. And it's not like you stop and just like, ooh, this is so crazy, and you're like staying in that state forever. Like you're like, okay, what's next? And that's kind of how it's been. And then all of a sudden, I ended up being the world champion after district ride, which was just, it's surreal. Like just a year before, I was like, I wonder if I could be able to compete with all those top dogs, but and then all of a sudden I was there, and then that was a pretty crazy pretty crazy time, like how things just flipped for me so quickly.
Really?
And how fast it just shut off as well. Like just 2 months after that, I started having back problems and started getting sick, and like I couldn't really manage to stay healthy, and that's kind of when my life took a bit of a turn in a way that not was in my favor. And
so obviously 2018 was a really, really stressful year for you, spending most of the year off the bike pretty much, right? So when did you first get a sort of hint that something wasn't right with your body? Had you had anything in previously, you know, all this stuff growing up and riding and whatever? You never
I mean, I'm taking a lot of shit crashing and stuff.
And
I was like, when my back started hurting, I was like, kind of like, okay, that was about time. Kind of like, by taking crashes on crashes and all that stuff, it just builds up tension in your body. And I've like, by the time my back started hurting to the point where I couldn't ride, it was like my back already hurted by that time for years. Like, I already had pain, but that was like before I went to my first ever diamond event, I had back pain.
Right.
And then it just faded. So I was like, sweet, I don't really have any problems. And then never really paid attention to it enough. I just thought it was something that passed, you know? And then, in 2017, in that off season to 18, everything just pretty much went to hell when it came to the health side of things. And I tried to get on my bike. I was feeling better, but as soon as I would get on my bike, I would like ride for like a day, or not even a day. Like sometimes I would go like to do like a spin in the BMX track, and I would get to the first berm, and I was like, this doesn't work. Like it was like, it wasn't something I could put my finger on, like, this is what I need to correct. It was just like this weird feeling in my back.
Right.
And where I did an x-ray, we did an MRI, and they were like, couldn't really figure out why the back was hurting so bad. Because if you have a bulking disc, there's people living with a bulking disc that is not having any pain at all. So it's, but I started doing physiotherapy and like training and stuff, but I wasn't able to stay healthy doing the training, because the training was stressful for my body. Like I couldn't really stay healthy. So like as soon as I would been sick and I would start feeling good again, and I would start training, you know, when you get in the mood and you like push yourself a bit, you push that little extra, I would get sick the next day. So I was like, I was going to the gym, I was like taking it more and more mellow, and then that didn't even work anymore. Like as soon as I would get my heart rate up or get a bit sweaty, I would get a swollen throat, and I would have this crazy like cold. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just a weird feeling, and I would have fevers on and off. Like there were weeks where I had like cold sweats every night for like 2 weeks in a row.
Wow.
And my body was just going through a crazy time there with the EBV and all that stuff. And I was lucky that I was going to a specialist in Munich that was kind of expecting, or like kind of suspecting, that it was something to do with like some kind of virus or something that made it hard for me to recover from my back problem.
Right.
And it was like 6 months into therapy in like, or not therapy, but like treatment in Munich. This doctor, Christine, told me that I should probably go see this virus specialist, and so I did, and that's when I found out everything, like what had been going on and what the reason for all this.
Because nobody knew, right? They couldn't put the finger on what it was.
No, nobody could put a finger on it, and especially not like that it was some autoimmune stuff. Like me myself, I obviously, when you're injured, you're on your computer searching for some type of ways to like get over it.
Yeah.
And we're searching on different stuff, and I stumbled across autoimmune disease, and I was like, this just sounds like it could be something like it, but didn't really want to wrap my head around it too much because I was like, I better hope it's nothing.
Mm.
And yeah, I met this virus specialist, and or virus specialist. She's a doctor, and she was able to put the finger on the problem, and she got me on medication, and just a month from that, I was competing in Joyride.
Wow. Why did it take so long to get to the diagnosis of? So did they diagnose you with Epstein-Barr and also
Yeah.
is it Hashimoto's, right, as well?
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. So like, or the EBV or Epstein-Barr is something I got diagnosed with I think it was in January. I was in Munich, and they did this blood test, and she saw that I had high levels and a bit of that. So she like, you probably have Epstein-Barr, but it's a very low level, so we can't really say for sure that you have it. So as soon as I got home and I started training again, I got sick. So I was like, okay, I might as well just go to the Swedish hospital and get checked fully. And they did this quick test that takes like 2 minutes. Like, they just take a bit of blood and put in this thing, and it didn't confirm positive for it. So I was like, sweet. But then I already know that I had all these problems, underlying problems, for a longer period. By that time, already for a month. And usually if you get it, you're able to recover from it within a month. Like, you've fever for like 2 weeks or something, and then after a month you're able to like get back into things. That's the recommendations in Sweden. But I basically told them I was needing to convince them to do a bigger blood test, like on everything. And then they did a bigger blood test, and it confirmed positive for it. And then a few weeks later, I came back and they did the test again, and I wasn't positive anymore. But then when I came back to Munich, they tested me again, and then I was positive. So like, this level seemed like they were going up and down. And as soon as I would start training, my body wasn't able to cope with it as well.
Right, like the stresses of it, so it'd just flare up again almost.
Yeah,
right.
It flared up again, and then it like went on like that forever, and no one really knew what was going on until July. And then in July, when I got the diagnosis, it was like way easier to cope with it. I got myself a heart rate watch that I was able to watch my heart rate, because if I exceeded a certain heart rate, I ran the risk of like flaring it up again. So I was training at like a low heart rate for a while, and that was going on for a few months, even when I was on medication, just to make sure I didn't really put any unnecessary stress on my body. So like, I was in a really tricky situation where it's like, I need to train to get my body healthy and all that stuff, but also my pain levels were super low. Like, I would get aches and crazy amount of pain for just the smallest amount of stuff. And it's even crazy for me right now. Like, now it's been about 2 years since things really was hitting the fan, and it's hard for me to even think back on it, because it's been 2 years in my body. I've been able to reflect over it and like kind of let go of the memories and stuff. And it was a pretty crazy time. And since July, since I got the diagnosis, we've been able to at least know what the problem is, and I know where to turn and where to ask for help, and so on. And I've been in Munich plenty of times, every few months, since July 2018, and now I haven't been there since December. But I see that the gaps in between feeling unwell and all that stuff is getting bigger and bigger.
Okay, awesome.
and my body's able to maintain a healthier state for a longer period.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm also, I got so much knowledge out of this unfortunate stuff about how to cope with my body and how I am supposed to deal with it. It's yeah, I'm at a way different level now when it comes to that stuff also than I was 2 years ago, because I didn't really know what was going on, and
yeah.
uh,
Were you
didn't
just
really make
almost
the
like
most
trying to power
decision.
through it and just making it
Yeah,
worse and worse, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I always been powering through everything. Like
Mm.
I had, like I said, the back pain I had in 16. I was like, I might as well, like, I got a competition in 2 weeks. I can't do, like, I'm not gonna rest. I'm just gonna
Keep
keep
going.
riding.
Yeah,
I had, like, crashes I've taken just added up. Uh, like my whole body was basically out of alignment as well. Like since August 2018, I've pretty much been going to a chiropractor every week.
really.
And
Wow.
I would go to a chiropractor, and I would having pain for like 2 days, and then I would feel better for like 2 days, and then I would feel that the tension would come back.
Where would the tension be?
So
Is it like
it would be like a block, like for like I wasn't able to look over my right shoulder for
okay?
like a few years,
Right. Wow.
and that was like since 2016, 2017. It had been going on. Like I had a like I couldn't look over. I was like blocked because my atlas in my neck was crooked in a way that would limit my range of motion in the back.
Mm.
And this is all very complicated stuff for me to explain even, but basically through training and through going to a chiropractor to get everything out of tension and in correct alignment with medication and all that stuff, I've been able to get my body in a way healthier state where I'm able to cope with more stress again.
Yeah.
And because if you're already, like, if the water bottle already is full, it's really hard to cope with anything going on. And that was like how it was for me for a long period of time, and now it's less full, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Where where was your head at in that sort of time? Because I think, again, relating it back to the documentary, and you can tell that it's really hard on you, and emotionally you look beat down at some points during it, and you get emotional at points during that documentary too. But where was your head at? In 2018, you're the world champion, and you pretty much can't do anything. The doctor mentioned depression. How are you feeling in yourself? Were you almost looking at it as like a challenge, or was it like getting too much at some point?
I mean, things were pretty fucked. Like I couldn't really do anything. Like it was a really crazy period of time. I basically went from having the high of my life, writing and doing what I want and what I've always been working on, to not be able to do anything of it. And what also, when it comes to Hashimoto, like like some of the symptoms on that is kind of like a depression, like, but that is like, I would say my mental side of things, when I went through all of that, it was all connected to the sickness, because it's like I was training and I was like trying to do everything in my power to feel better, but as soon as I went training, I would get sick. So like I wasn't able to even trust my own body. Like I wasn't able to trust my own instincts anymore, like what I feel like is normal. And I was sleeping like 12 hours a night, and I was waking up like I just had the worst nap of my life.
Really?
Like it was, my body was just drained and tired, and I was like, it was for a long period of time I didn't see the light in the end of the tunnel until I got my diagnosis. Pretty much I was like, we're kind of seeing the end of this,
and something to work towards as well, right? Like
yeah, definitely. I mean, autoimmune stuff. I live with this body, and I have to deal with it, with the symptoms I have, and I have to give myself the best cards possible on my hand. But it's really hard when you're not able to do the stuff that you're supposed to be able to do.
Yeah.
And that led to me not being too happy. Like, I wasn't able to push myself riding. I wasn't able to push myself in the gym even. I was sleeping lots. I wasn't feeling well at all. Like, how are you supposed to even be happy in a state like that? And I feel like it was good that I went through really dark times there, because that makes me appreciate the stuff I go through now. And that also made me work even harder to get back, because I didn't want to be in that shitty situation anymore. I was over that. I've been in that for like 9 months by the time my diagnosis came around. And by the time I got my diagnosis, I also saw an even bigger picture. It's like, this is way bigger than I ever would have imagined it to be, and I actually have to cope with this for a longer period, and I have to go through medicine treatments, and that goes up and down. Like, sometimes it works perfectly, and sometimes it works good for 2 weeks, and then you slow down the medication, and then you get sick again, and then it's so hard to deal with some of this stuff at the time. But as you move forward, you're able to learn and benefit and see how to cope with it in the bigger picture. And yeah, I'm super happy I made it this far.
For sure,
in it, that I'm able to get back into traveling and get back to eating more different stuff, and not needing to be as strict about my diet as I was for a while. Because my body's able to cope with stress better. And for a while, I wasn't able to cope with anything at all, really.
Would that even mean the diet? So did you just keep it like super simple all the time?
So a lot of people with autoimmune stuff go by paleo.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah,
paleo is like gluten-free, dairy-free. Like, it's very much like the human race used to eat before we got industrial. And I was trying to focus on eating that a lot, but I also did this blood test where they saw my food sensitivities. I even forgot about this. I got back a test which said I was sensitive for 93 different foods. And that was all like regular food, like apples, like all like stuff that I would used to eat on a daily.
Right.
And I all of a sudden just like, okay, I gotta quit eating all that. And I didn't really have a whole lot left on my sheet what I was able to buy in the store. I started buying all these weird things I never seen before.
Really? But still eat like you did when you were living on your own when you were 16, just pasta and meatballs and stuff.
Yeah, but that was definitely not on my diet plan by that time around. And yeah.
So what was it? What were you eating? Because the diet stuff really kind of fascinates me, to be honest.
It's been a lot of like, I try to eat good protein from like grass-fed beef, good chicken, fatty fish, and like good proteins with good fats, and as well as eating like when I got that test back, it basically told me to even like avoid rice for a certain period of time. Like, I was like, what's wrong with rice, But now I'm being back able to eat all that stuff. But like for a period of time, I was basically living off like sweet potatoes and like different vegetables that I was able to eat. Like broccoli and I don't know, green beans and stuff like that. That was the thing that I was eating the most during that period of time, like, because that was the only things that didn't stress my system. Like, I was not able to eat a whole lot of other stuff because I felt shitty from it. But now it's super weird because now I could eat all this stuff that was super stressful for my body, and it's not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, to a certain degree, you almost think you were crazy for a period of time, but I know it was just a phase I went through where my body was going through a crazy time.
Yeah, and you have to do everything in your power, like you said, dude. You know, if that's what you have to eat, then that's what you have to eat if you want to get back to being fit, right?
Yeah,
that's
I
it.
mean, in the end of it, I learned so much, and without it, I would just be stupid.
Yeah.
Like the knowledge I had before is, like, I benefit so much when it comes to my knowledge from all of this stuff. Like, just the overall look on training and nutrition and sleep and recovery, most of all. Like, I used to be like, fuck, I gotta ride. I would spend hours riding every week that I almost went to a point where I saw it, but I didn't really want to admit it. I was riding to a point where you're not progressing anymore. You're almost breaking yourself down, you know? Like, you're riding so much that you're not able to recover enough, and that sooner or later will lead to you having a crash. Or you would just be so drained of energy that you would start having problems doing basic stuff. And I learned a lot through this, looking at like kind of quality over quantity, and how to do it the best way possible for me.
Totally. And I think it's becoming more and more relevant, isn't it? You know, eating good foods and sleep. I mean, sleep's a huge thing, dude. Sleep and just recovery. And I think as the sport's progressing, everyone is becoming way more of an athlete. You know, you look at some of these people's approach, like Reader, for example. I mean, he's a full-on athlete now. You know what I mean? Like, it's not... I think that's one thing that I've learned loads from doing this podcast is I think maybe someone who's not a fan of Slopestyle, for example, look at this and just think, oh my God, they just throw themselves off these features and do these crazy tricks and they're just gymnasts. But there's so much going into this now that you guys are high-end professional athletes. No questions asked.
It's a high-end professional athlete, and with a lot of risks. Like the stuff you have to find a balance in, it's really hard, I feel like, because you have to go to the gym, you have to recover, you have to sleep, you have to eat well, and you have to ride a lot. And to find a balance between riding and training in the gym is really hard. Like, if you've been in a gym doing a lot of deadlifts, you probably won't be able to pop that flip combo around as easy off the lift. So like, you have to find a balance where you're not training to the point of failure, and you're not riding when you're too beat down. Because I had a super hard time trying to figure all this stuff out, and just I would go ride after I've like been in the gym the day before, pushing myself so hard, and I would go ride and I was like feeling kind of slow walking up the start tower, and I would find myself like not being fully there. That's really hard, because doing high technical combos, you need to be fully there. Like, you need to be 100%. You can't be tired. Like, sometimes I would go to do like a cork step, and I would realize that I'm way too tired in my body. So I would like start like doing it at a super weird angle, like trying to fish it around. And sometimes I had bad crashes, and that just because of me being too tired from going to the gym. So it's a lot of different aspect that goes into it, and it's a lot of risk. So why would you not do it seriously, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So just to go back a little bit, you know, 2018, you come out almost out the back of this healthier, come into Rotorua, which unfortunately you crashed in practice, I think. Is that right? And then what was the rest of 2019 like after that? And sort of like, what was your headspace like?
2019, riding lots, feeling good on my bike.
You felt good coming into it? Like into Rotorua, you felt good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had some few minor injuries that have been dragging throughout the winter, like just from training a lot. And but nothing that I was not able to cope with. I was able to cope with everything. And then I just had a crash in practice that put me out from riding for like 2 months.
Yeah.
I never got an X-ray on it. We don't really know what happened, but probably a broken rib or something, because I wasn't able to like hold a bar. I wasn't able to hold my groceries for months. And I still feel it sometimes. It's in the rib cage that it's like kind of clicking.
Okay.
Kind of moving around. So I don't know if I hurt like a ligament or something. I'm not that good at that stuff, like what all the names are, but I definitely hurt something, and I also hit my head, so I wasn't able to take part in that competition. And then I got back to riding before Innsbruck.
Yeah, you rode just a few weeks before Innsbruck.
Yeah, just a few weeks before Innsbruck.
Yeah.
Rode for like 1.5 weeks, and then I had another crash, which put me out for a week, and then I just started riding again, like once before I flew to Innsbruck. So it was pretty crazy time leading up to that contest, but all the practice I had done in the off season were able to put me in the state where I felt confident and comfortable enough to take part and do the tricks I was set out to do. Yeah.
Amazing. Dude, such a crazy story when you really think about it. I just had a moment then where I was like, what the... Jeez. Before we talk about 2020, when did you become a Red Bull athlete? Was that 2017?
That was the day before Joyride 2017.
Yeah. Okay. What was that like? Because that was another point of this documentary. You know, it's like Goosebumps territory when Martin gives you that helmet. And I was just curious, like, how does that all happen? You know, was the talks already with Red Bull, or there was? I was gonna say there must be. They can't just throw a helmet on you and say we're sponsoring you. Like,
no, definitely not. Or maybe they do. I don't know actually. But obviously Tarek was taking care of all that, but he wasn't really like. Obviously, I was keen on having Red Bull as a sponsor, no doubt about that. But we were like, I had been at the Red Bull office and didn't really think about, like, as I said, everything was going so fast. I didn't really even think about it. They wanted me down at the Red Bull office, like, just to come down to the Red Bull office. And it's like, that was in the spring of 2017. And I never really thought it was anything. I was like, okay, maybe, I will if I can sometime.
Okay.
And then I kind of forgot about that. And then I got a message from Martin saying, you need to go to a Red Bull office. I was like, why? And I was like, shit, I got this email a while back. And then I went there and met all the people at Red Bull Sweden. That was in the spring, but then I didn't really hear too much about it during that summer. And then Tarek obviously had been in the talks, I assume, because he did all the deals and stuff. And that was all happening behind me. Like, I wasn't really aware of all that stuff going on, and definitely not so soon. I was like hoping for it to like happen for next year. And then just a super surreal moment. And then it was at Joyride, we're doing this GoPro course preview, and we already, like, people already done it, and someone came up and like, you need to go to do GoPro course preview. And I was like, seriously, we already done this, like, people already done it. It's not exciting anymore, I felt like. And he put this gimbal on my chest, and I would drop in and I would just start spinning because the gimbal didn't know what direction to go, but I was just tired, so I was like, okay, I might as well just ride all the way down. So he grabbed the shuttle up, gets down, and there's Martin, and all the stuff you see in the documentary happen, and super crazy moment.
That's insane.
It was even hard to grasp, because before all this stuff happened, it's like so surreal, and you see it as a huge thing, and it's not like I don't see it as a huge thing anymore, but it just happening, like, everything is happening so fast, it's hard to even put your head around it, and it's pretty crazy.
It's insane. And for anyone who's not seen, like, definitely check that out, because Martin pretty much just hands you a Red Bull helmet, and you can tell, obviously, you're like, what the fuck, this is insane. It's really, really cool moment. Really, and obviously to get it from Martin too, it must have been really, insane. So, yeah. Do you think there's been a lot of Red Bull athletes on this podcast, from Martin through to Danny McAskill, who've talked about how much Red Bull have helped with recovery, especially with they probably didn't predict you were going to have a 2018 like you did, but were they helpful with all that stuff? Obviously you spent a lot of time in Munich. Was that a lot of that helped through Red Bull too?
Yeah, so they were really supportive through all that stuff, and paid a few of my bills because I was going to all these private doctors and stuff, and they've been really helpful, and overall just want to bring light on my story was something that I really thought was really cool, because I feel like it would be good for people going through sickness and having problems to see that you're able to get out of it, or at least get on top of it and be able to get back to a somewhat normal life again.
Yeah.
I
Do you think it would have been way harder without a sponsor like Red Bull? If you'd have come into 2018 and maybe you didn't have such a good 2017, do you think you'd be in a totally different position now?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I was when I think about it, everything is if this 2017 season wouldn't have went so well, why would people invest in me being the next world champion or something? If I wouldn't have made that step already, why would people think that? And especially in the state I was in, I was not a professional athlete.
Yeah.
I was fucked. I was not in a good shape in the beginning of 2018 at all.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't sign a deal with me in that state. I wouldn't have signed a deal with myself.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy to think about it like that, isn't it?
Yeah, but for me, when I was in it, I was in I was just going through a hard time, but just the overall state I ended up being in, because of the sickness and because of the back pain and all that stuff, just led to me not being in a good shape at all. And I was very fortunate that I was able to have a good 2017 season, to have support and have trust that I would make it back. But the thing is that this injury we thought was going to go on for 2 months. I was like, okay, I may miss out of Rotorua. And I was like, that's fine. I could get back to Innsbruck, even though I was so devastated about that fact. That I was not going to be able to practice, or maybe I would be able to practice and get back into that contest. But because of the whole sickness thing, I wasn't ever able to get back on my bike in the time I thought I was going to be. So I was super lucky that the 2017 season went as it went, and I had the support and all that stuff, and then the trust that I would be able to get through it,
Yeah.
I just wasn't really messing around, that I actually was taking everything for real.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, jump back a little bit there, but 2019, the end of that season was, again, it's incredible, really. An amazing comeback story. Innsbruck, you finished second in Innsbruck, right?
Yep.
And then you won Joyride. What was that like, man? Holy shit! What was that like?
I mean, it's so crazy, everything.
Yeah.
I just can't stop saying it. But
crazy emotional experience at the end of Joyride 2, which is really cool to watch.
Yeah. Crazy. Looking back at it, it's almost like my body, I've just been putting things aside to not have to deal with it as much on a daily anymore. But crazy season, as I said, the Innsbruck, and just getting back into Innsbruck was a huge step for me, because that was my first event where I really came into prepared, at least. Joyride 2018, I wasn't supposed to ride. Right. I was not supposed to ride at all.
Yeah.
I talked to the personal trainer I have down in Munich, and he was like, "Nope, you're not riding.
Really?
Like you're not in a good state. Like you should not ride." And I was like, "Okay." But then I started riding, and all of a sudden I did a competition anyway. But it just kind of just happened. And 2019, as we said, I had a crash, and I got back into Innsbruck, and then started doing some competitions during July, and then coming into Joyride. You know, it's like, it's so hard to grasp, because take me back 5 years and I would watch someone win Joyride, and that was like the biggest thing of all time.
Yeah.
Like it would be like it wouldn't get any bigger, you know?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm there, I'm in the competition for the 4th time, which is also just crazy that itself. I've done it for 4 times.
Yeah.
I'm doing the training, and doing training, it's super hard to know like how far your run is gonna go. Like you're usually freaking out about small stuff that usually doesn't even matter in the bigger picture. Like, should I do that over that or this or that? But doing the competition and then landing my run was just like such a big redemption on all the stuff that had been going on through basically since I did a run at that competitive level last time, which was 2017. 2018, I made it down, but I wasn't like too stoked on my run or anything. I just made it down. That was the thing that mattered for me. And then 19 started off bad, crash, and like it was just a huge redemption on all the things laying in my past that I'm able to get back. I am back riding on the level I want to be at riding, and I'm able to put down a run which I think is competitive enough to make it on top of the podium. But there's more than just me want to do that, and there's so many good riders in the so you never know how far that run is going to go, so you always have like a second run plan. What could you improve? Like what could your level at? And on that day, that was enough for first place, and super surreal to do a victory lap down the Joyride course is
wow.
It's not many people that have been able to do that.
No, there's not, mate. No, there's not. He came through the finish line. All the boys were there too. It's wow.
So good.
Yeah.
That GoPro footage is too good.
It is. It's really good. Wow, dude, what an insane story. You must have felt like the whole. I mean, yeah, all that stuff you've been through and everything, just to finally grab that first win at that location. Just all time.
I was crazy. So insane that it actually happened. Like, just even if I wouldn't have gone through all these injuries and stuff, it's the biggest event. Like, that's the biggest thing you could win.
Biggest stage, yeah.
And no one can deny that. Like, it's the hardest event really to do good at, and to have all these things laying in my past and to be able to then perform on the biggest stage is just something way more emotional.
Yeah. What was? Okay, I'm gonna try and get inside your head a little bit. So, like, the top of the run, you're at the top of Joyride, 2019. How on earth do you block out all of the other shit that's going on around you? You know, all this story that you've been through. How do you get in the zone? Do you have any, like, I don't know, things you do to just really get into the zone? And, you know, we talked about flow state when we first started recording.
Yeah.
How do you get into that? Like, what's the preparation like and stuff to drop in front of all those people? I mean, holy shit. I can't even.
Just usually I'm just headphones in, getting pumped up.
What are you listening to?
It's like sometimes I have relaxing music, sometimes I have music I get pumped up on. It's all depends on in the mood I'm in. Like back in 2016, I was so amped already. I was like, I need to calm myself down.
Just slay
I
it all
gotta
the
make
time.
it. Yeah, I was like, I gotta make it down. So I was like, if I'm dropping in this state, I don't know what I will do. Like, I just found myself doing something I'm not supposed to do, especially out in the first round. So I was like listening to chill music then, but yeah, usually something that I'm keen on listening to that gets me pumped. And yeah, it's always different. It's always different when it comes to mood, and it also depends on what you got to do straight out of the gate. Because sometimes if you have like a mellow start to the round, you're like into the round, and you're like,
yeah,
you have the feeling going already. But if you're like doing a combo straight out of the gate, you need to already be so pumped up and so ready to do a combo that you need to be fully focused.
Amped, yeah.
But like you said, how to cope with all the stuff in my past, it's like I said before, it's like you're not really looking back, you're just looking forward, and you're dealing with whatever's in front of you at that time, and try to just move forward is the thing that I think have been the most important, or it is the thing that have been the most important part in my injuries, just to keep moving forward and do the best I can every day to remain healthy.
Yeah.
And up on the start gate, you just want to do the run you're set out to do, and it's you versus run. And that goes for all the riders. Like, you have a run that you set out to do, but it's very rare that you have a run that you set out to do on that big of a competition that you're 100% certain that you're gonna land to 100% level. And like the tricks I did all the way down the course, it's like I'm certain I will be able to do somewhat of it. But if I'm like going to do like 3 whip to unturn, I'm confident I'll do a 3 whip, but I'm not confident I could do the unturn. So it's like the 3 whip without unturn wouldn't be as good as a 3 whip with unturn. So it's like I'm confident I would be able to do some of the stuff I set out to do, but not the whole thing. And if I'm not able to get the combos in there, the run is not as difficult and wouldn't score as well.
Right. So that's a good way of looking at it. So you've pretty much got all of the tricks down, but it's adding the little extra bits in that make that, like, you know, step the run up for you for the score. Okay, that makes sense actually. So again, for someone who doesn't really ride that sort of stuff, it's kind of hard to get into that, you know, mentality of figuring out, because for me, I'd struggle to do anything, so it's kind of hard. But again, I've always wondered, you know, like how dialed a run is, especially for, you know, on a stage like that. So it's pretty much dialed, but then you start adding combos, and that's what for you, like, levels.
I mean, it's small things that you add. Like all the riders in that field, we're doing this for a living. And we're practicing many times a week. So it's not like I drop into a run and I see how well my bike spins and I would just start spinning it. It's like it's super well calculated and thought through, and it's nothing that just happens, really. Like, you practice and it just slowly you get better at riding, and you learn new tricks, and you learn that trick with combos, and then it just moves on and on. So you could see, like, in first day of practice, people doing spins over big jumps and stuff, but that's just, like, me, myself at least, and I know many others are usually more confident doing a backflip or 360 off a big jump than jumping it straight. Because you could correct if it's windy. Usually it's super windy in all practice sessions we have, so it's better to do like a spin, because then you could adjust the spin instead of just going straight off the lip, because then if you get a bit angled in the wind, you're kind of stuck, and you just gotta take it to your shoulders. But like, if you do flip, you could just adjust it with a bar, or if you do spin, you do the same, and you could snipe the landing way better
Mm.
and not really get bothered about the wind too much.
Okay. That's gnarly. Dude, it's easier for you to 3 or flip a jump than it is to ride it straight. That's so gnarly.
I I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier, but it's something I sometimes prefer doing over jumping it straight.
Okay.
Especially if it's windy and I already hit the jump before. But it's very rare that I just, out of nowhere, just spins or flip a jump. But I've definitely been there, done that.
So 2020, I mean, you know, we land here now, which is a nice journey we've been on, dude. Rotorua, arguably, some have said the best run of all time, the best slopestyle run of all time. What do you think to that?
I don't really agree, but
okay.
To hear that people think so.
Yeah. People have said that. Commentators especially, they were saying that, so that's good.
Yeah. I feel like there's some stuff that I would have liked to add to that run, but it's super hard on contest day to be able to do that. And I'm super happy that I was able to pull off the run I did, and especially during the training, like we didn't have any good conditions during training, so
it was
like
cancelled most of it too, right? Was it wind and rain and all sorts was cancelled?
Wind and rain, and it was pretty shit, but managed to do my run, and I'm super happy that it ended up being as good as it was. And
how are you feeling right now then, dude? So you've come off of Rotorua, big win. You know, I guess we are in uncertain times with when the next event's going to be. I think Innsbruck's scheduled for September still, isn't it? Is it September?
Yeah.
So hopefully
it got moved to like last week / first week of October. So
it has?
It started end of September and it ends in October.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry. So fingers crossed we can do that. But what's this period of time going to look like now for you? Because you know, I'm guessing you've got some trips which have been cancelled.
Yeah.
So what?
Definitely a few things that have been cancelled. So right now I'm just home. We're rebuilding the jumps in my hometown, and just been spending a lot of time there, just focusing on getting the jumps running, so I at least have somewhere good to practice on when I'm home, and especially now when it's not as easy to go ride everywhere. Like if I want to go ride at Dome Adrenaline Zone, they only take 50 people, and it's usually a few hundred in there.
Right.
And so you like need to pre-book your day there instead of just going there like I usually do. So we're super fortunate overall in Sweden that we're able still to go train, and the gyms are still open and so on. So we're really lucky. I mean, when I was in Auckland, I got to experience a bit of the shittier way it could be when it's like a full lockdown, you're not allowed to do stuff and all that thing. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a strange time. I think there's going to be a lot of riders which aren't getting the amount of time you've got to practice too. I think
definitely not.
A lot of in a lockdown and can't do anything, especially if we're maybe in Spain or Italy, I guess, or something like that. So
at the moment though, I don't know how long it's going to be until Sweden have a lockdown, even if we even ever have a lockdown. I don't really know that stuff. So for the moment at least I'm able to be outside, dig on my jumps, go for rides on my enduro bike, and stay healthy.
Stay healthy, yeah. What else do you do, man? What else do you do other than mountain bike? You got any other hobbies?
Any other, like I always enjoy going skiing, but as I've been riding so much the last few years, I never really put time into doing that.
Right.
But pretty much I'm just busy riding and training. Like if I'm training and riding, that's a full day.
Are you interested in photography? Did I see that on your Instagram you got a camera and you have it developed? And
yeah, I'm definitely starting getting into that. I've always found it interesting, but I never really put the time into learning how cameras work, and I always, like, my phone is overflown by photos and so on. But I'm definitely trying to learn photography more and more. I think it's fun, and especially when traveling, that you get to get photos out of it that are better than the photos you take with your phone. And the stuff I got developed from New Zealand is pretty cool. That it's like it's on paper and I have it.
It's cool, real
Even
cool.
Even though my computer would die, I would still have those photos,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool.
It is cool. That is cool. Amazing. Yeah, I like that. That's cool, man. Because like you say, you're out there doing a lot of cool things and making memories. You may as well try and document them, and losing them would be
definitely
pretty shit.
Yeah. So we will see where this season takes off. I mean, I would love to be able to try to qualify for Rampage as well.
Yeah.
This year again.
Okay. Yeah. How was the last experience at Rampage?
Another thing.
Did I hear a rumor that you'd not really ridden a downhill bike before that? Is that true?
No, it's not true.
Is it not? I don't know who told me that. Someone
No.
told me that you'd not really ever ridden a downhill bike before Rampage.
That would have been so gnarly.
It would have. Yeah, it would have.
It's not the truth, but I definitely not have spent a lot of time on DH bike. I have not. I got my first bike back in 2017.
Okay.
When I signed for Trek, and didn't really spend a lot of time on that. Like all my focus have been on slope bikes, and I never really went to the bike park before I got injured. So that's something I've done more and more now when I have my own driving license as well.
Yeah.
I'm able to go ride more often, and also just starting enjoying it way more because I've started understanding how to ride a big bike. Because before I was like, I got 5 bars in my tires on my slope bike. I wonder if I should. How much air do I need in this thing? And I would just set it up like a huge slope bike, and it would just be so bad going on rock sections. It would just arm pumps the first 10 minutes of riding, and it would just be crap. So I would just not be keen on it. But then as I started learning how to set it up, I started enjoying it way more. And coming into Rampage, I've spent like a few weeks in Canada riding big bikes and stuff.
Right.
But besides that, I haven't really been doing too much of big bike riding overall. Like just been riding big like bike parks and stuff. And I went to Proving Grounds to do the qualification, and that's it pretty much. So coming into that competition, I was not prepared to the level that I would have loved to be prepared at going into Rampage for the first time, and not the level. Like I always told myself, if I one day would do Rampage, I would practice for a few years. I would feel that I'm 100% ready going into it, and take it step by step. And
I don't think that's your style, mate.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I get the call that, you're into Rampage if you want. And I was like, shit, what? Like, because I was second alternate, like, it's rare that 2 athletes get injured.
Yeah.
For any event. But for Rampage, 2 of them unfortunately got injured, which led to me qualifying. And I was like, I can't really shut this opportunity down, because the sooner I attend the contest, the better, really, because it's so much to learn out of an event like that. And it was the second year at the same venue, so to compete with people that have been there the years before is really hard, since they have twice the amount of days of work on their line, and you kind of just gotta go where everyone else not have went already. So there's not really a whole lot of room left on the hill to scratch a line in on. And it's like, I feel like I learned so much just doing the Rampage weeks, just digging and experiencing the whole thing, and also just pinging my own stuff at such an exposed area. I never really even spent time on riding it. I'm building my own stuff that I'm later on set out to ride.
Yeah.
And just that itself is such a big step, just being able to get to that level where you're trusting yourself and your diggers and all the stuff you've done up to that point to be able to do what you're set out to do on the hill. And the only thing I wanted to do is to make it down the hill.
Right.
Like, I didn't really care if I did top 10 plays or not, but as long as I'm doing top to bottom and I learn as much as I possibly can about the event when I'm there, it will be really good for me for the future.
Yeah.
Even though, like, going into it, I didn't even know if I would like to do it again. Like,
Really? How much notice did you get before flying out there? How much notice did you get?
Before I flew out, less than 48 hours.
No way. Wow.
But it was about 1.5 weeks before digging started.
Okay.
So I was like...
So you had time to figure a bike. Did you use like a bike you already had to get a new one?
Yeah, I used the bike I already had, and then for the day of competition, I got a new custom painted one from Trek.
Okay.
As well as some new bike parts, which felt really, really good to have a new bike going into contests like that when you're hacking big drops and all that stuff. You really want to make sure that you don't have any old flaws on your parts, really.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
So Rampage again, hopefully. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Love to see you out there, man.
It's not really my main discipline, so and there's so many good free riders out there, and that spent way more time on DH bikes than I do, and but it's something that I really enjoyed doing last year, and I would love to get back in the start gate. If not this year, some other year.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Sick. Amazing. So usually we do a few listener questions. So if that's okay, I'm just going to rattle through a few of these, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up. I want to be kind of mindful of your time.
Good.
Let's have a little look what we've got. This is a good one actually. Just came in. Strange. So Instagram at Tristan_E, I think. What are your plans after your slopestyle career, and what do you think you're going to be doing?
It's a super tough question. I mean, there's so much stuff that I could see myself doing. If that is, I don't know. It could be whatever, really. It could be being a teacher at the school I've went to for high school or for gymnasium, or it could be physiotherapy, being a chiropractor, or anything that I'm like interested in. I could see myself doing it. I don't know if I would ever get into videography and start filming stuff. I don't know.
Because you,
it could really.
You were a CNC wherever. Mechanic too? Did you get a CNC?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
I went CNC. I wouldn't say I can't remember too much at the moment though, but I'm pretty confident I could pick up on some of those skills and get better at that, and maybe start doing my own bike parts. I don't really know. Like, wherever life takes me, I'm down for it.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, go with the flow, definitely.
Cool. Next one, at Theo Travato. How did you manage the pressure of being compared to some of the greatest of all time? And what relation do you have with other slopestyle riders? That's a good question. Let's do it. That's good.
The pressure of, I mean, like, being compared to some of the greatest of all time is nothing that I really take for, it's nothing I take serious, because it's like, it's just crazy to even be in. There's been so many good ones over the years, and there are still so many good ones, so like, I don't really see myself as one of them or even being compared to one of them, so I don't know. I don't really feel the pressure, I guess.
Really? Who do you look up to, man? Who's like still your guy that you're like, I want to be like this dude?
There's so many good ones, and there's so many good ones outside of mountain biking as well that I found a lot of inspiration from, and it's super hard to just name one that is more valuable than any other, but I would say it's a mix of all of them, you know, like you take stuff that you like from certain athletes and bring it to what you want to be, and it's a mix of everything, I would say.
Okay. Next one, we've got at Paul the MTB Dad. Great Instagram handle, love that one. How does he come up with the motivation to keep going and winning after all the health issues. And then he also added, the kid's a friggin' legend.
I mean,
so yeah, what does motivate you?
What motivates, like, I just love riding. It's what keeps me going. It what keeps me. It is literally what keeps me sane. And sometimes I feel like it makes me insane as well when it comes to learning certain new tricks and stuff. Sometimes could be so frustrating and so difficult, but it's all a process that I enjoy, and I really just enjoy riding and being out and learning stuff. And yeah, for me, it's not really. I wouldn't like to have it any other way, really. So
amazing.
The motivation is just to keep doing what I like doing and keep doing what I'm doing, and keep it going.
It's a super, when you really think about it, it's such a super unique position to be able to just do that thing, right, that you love, that you fell in love with as a kid, and you can just do it for your living. I mean, such a unique opportunity.
I'm super fortunate that I was able to get this far. I mean, when I was a kid and I told people at school and like teachers and stuff, like, I want to be a professional mountain biker, or it's like, you can't really do that. You still got to study, and like how the school system always, or like how the teachers always like, you really need to have a backup plan. But for me, my only, like, the stuff I really wanted to do is riding. I still did graduate and all that stuff, because I do value that, but it's funny how in the school system I always feel like if you ever say something like that, it's not like they think you're gonna be able to do it, and it's not like, or they always like, but what if it doesn't happen, you know? And you're like, I'm gonna try my best to make it happen, and then that's
I love your attitude, dude. Amazing. Honestly.
Thank you.
Next one, at JB Nicholas. Would you rather land the biggest and gnarliest trick of all time once, or come a solid but unspectacular third at every contest you ever enter? Good question, Joe. That's quality.
Oh, that's a difficult one. So, if I only would land one trick, unspectacular trick once, what position would that put me in, though? Like,
good point. You could have had a dog shit rest of the run.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, for me, if I would come third and I still do what I set out to do and push myself, I don't really, like, that's, like, as long as I'm doing what I want to do and staying true to myself, I feel like a third isn't really bad at all.
I agree. Totally.
But then you could flip it around and like, if I do this trick once, maybe, I don't know. But it's not like I'm going to make that much money out of it. I could do whatever I want for the rest of my life just doing it once. So probably getting third is a way better alternative.
I think so.
On this question.
Good question though, Joe. Appreciate that one. We got...
Really thought through.
At Aqua Gabe, what's your best advice for aspiring riders?
Best advice would definitely be to just, first of all, just know, like, if you're passionate about riding and really want to do it, that you're able to make it if you really want to do it, I would say. Like, just if you're doing something that you're fully passionate about, it's not really about the hours you miss when you do others. Like, when you go riding, it's more about the hours you get when you go riding. And if you're just doing what you love, it's not really going to be too, like, it's not going to be anything that you feel is tough going to do every day if you have it as a living. And like, sometimes I find it tough to push myself on a daily, but it goes up and down. It's motivation comes and motivation goes, and it's something you gotta be able to get through and understand how to cope with. But yeah, for what was the question even?
What's your it's called what's your best advice for aspiring riders?
Just do what you love doing, and then do it to 100%. And it doesn't matter if you got the best training facility or not. I'm pretty confident you could make it out of many difficult situations when it comes to riding spots and stuff, and still be able to make it to a high level if you're just taking it for real and practicing and being serious with it. I'm pretty sure you can.
For sure. Well, proof right here, ladies and gentlemen. That's proof. Next one, we'll just do a couple more, dude. At mob.co, who, in your opinion, is the best overall mountain biker of all time?
Of all time. It's super hard. Like, I got into biking from like 2010, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the guys before that, I don't really know too much about, I know names and stuff, but I didn't grow up watching NWD and just watching that all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say the best mountain biker there's been in the past 10 years is Semina, because he could ride all different bikes. He's not only riding a dirt jump, he could ride BMX, Wind Rampage, and Joyride and all that stuff. And I feel like he's probably the one that have been able to do all of the mountain bike disciplines on a high level.
I feel like he's also one of those guys that's continued to elevate. Like, every edit he puts out, you just, you're still left jaw dropped. You're just like, oh my god. He's one of those guys. Every time you see something, you're like, oh my god, like as if it's gone up another level almost. And he can then jump in a rally car and be insanely fast at that too, which is crazy.
Yeah.
He's like the Travis Pastrana of mountain biking, I guess. Just in and out.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's definitely cool seeing that. That's also what I love about mountain biking, is that there's so many elements to it. Like, you could go downhill riding, and you could ride trail, and you could ride dirt jumps or slopestyle. Like, there's so much stuff to do. If you really think about it, it's pretty hard to get bored. And
100%.
It's pretty cool.
All right, last one. JNSBRIR. Sorry, dude, totally screwed your name up. How does the Scandinavian bike riding scene differ from America and Canada's bike riding scene? Did you have to overcome a lot of language and cultural barriers? It's a good question. Dude, the Swedish scene is
definitely had, traveling when it comes to language and stuff, some funny moments where I like think about a joke in Swedish and I bring it to English and it just doesn't make any sense, and everyone just thinks I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I had so many moments growing up, like just learning the English language on the road.
Right.
I've had some awkward moments, but and also culture-wise, you stumble across different cultures and you learn about all this stuff. But when it comes to, I don't know.
Have you got a favorite place you've been to?
Favorite place I've been to? I really like Queenstown.
Really?
It's so good.
Yeah.
And besides that, I would say it's probably Whistler.
Right.
But just because the bike park is huge, and I spent 2 weeks there after Crankworx as well last year, just riding the bike park and all that stuff, and there's so much to ride there.
Yeah.
And just the overall view, it's beautiful, so I would say that's a cool place. And besides that, I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anywhere on your radar? Obviously, we're sort of we don't know what's going to happen right now. But did you have any trips planned this year that
Yeah,
may or may not
like I
still
said,
happen?
I was supposed to. Yeah, earlier, I was supposed to go to Canada to shoot a video, and I wasn't able to do that, so that is also getting postponed.
Okay.
And I was supposed to do a couple of trips and mostly just go to the competitions and just try to ride as much as possible. And yeah, right now we don't really know what's gonna happen and what's not. So yeah.
Cool, man. All right. Well, it's been a blast. Sit chatting for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for doing this, dude. If anyone, is there anything we haven't spoken about which you wanted to, or you're pretty good? Are you happy?
I don't know. This podcast thing is pretty difficult.
You did another podcast recently though. You did the Anthill one.
Oh, but that's like a year ago.
Oh, is it? Oh, I need to listen to that too. I want to listen to those. I've not listened to them.
It was recorded a year ago, but it just got released.
Okay. Yeah, I need to check that out.
I hope people find somewhat interesting.
Is this the first one you've done then, where you've sat and just like chatted for a few hours?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I hope people enjoyed it. I don't know.
100%.
I don't know if I really. To be honest, I can't really think if I've made any important information out there, but yeah.
Dude, I think your whole story is just inspirational, and it's very inspirational and motivational too, to see what you've come through and some of the hurdles you've overcome and the way you handle yourself. I mean, dude, you're such a professional, and I think it's really interesting to see how, even an athlete like yourself, with how, I guess, I don't really know how to put this, but almost like how big you are as a sort of name in the sport and how humble you are. Like, you're so like just down to earth, and it's almost like as if it's just happening to you, and you almost like still can't believe it's happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, because that's how it feels.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but it really comes across too.
Yeah.
Even when we were exchanging text messages and lining this up, you could. There's no like ego involved. There's nothing. It's just like a nice young guy. So again, appreciate it. Thank you for everything you're doing.
I really appreciate it. Yeah.
It's an amazing story that you're carving out, and I think it's only going to get better and better for you. And I wish you all the success in the world, dude. Looking forward to hopefully catching up soon properly as well at some event or in Sweden or something. I owe you a drink or two, a few beers or whatever.
It's all good.
We can have a snooze and some beer.
Oh, I don't do that stuff, but you could have some.
I do, for sure. Dear. All right, dude, if people don't already, where can they follow you? Where can they find out more info and all that sort of stuff?
On Facebook and Instagram, my name is Johansson Emil, without an N in the end of so Johansson Emil. Very unfortunate that almost every other Swede is named Johansson in the last name, and Emil is a very common name. Otherwise, I would have just been able to claim the Emil Johansson username, but really wasn't able to claim that. And besides that, I don't know. I got like an edit on my YouTube channel, but nothing exciting on that one.
Do you do vlog or anything? No?
No, not really.
No.
But yeah, just
amazing.
Just riding and trying to progress and stay ready for competitions is where my head is at and where my focus is at. Maybe I'll drop a few small edits, just dad cam ones. I don't know. We will see.
You don't fancy the Matt Jones program?
You
don't fancy the Matt Jones program with the vlog? His vlog is killing it right now. It's huge.
Yeah, he is huge, and I mean the amount of followers the vloggers and YouTubers have is crazy. I think it's really beneficial for the sport. It's super cool that people that don't want to do the biggest competitions are able to show kids information about riding that never really been able to get given out to kids before, and it just brings more and more people into biking, and it's super sick to see that, because usually like some before the whole the only way you would be able to follow like a mountain biker or like someone would be through like a TV show, and that would be so commercialized and all that stuff. So like now people are able to put out raw stuff, and kids are able to get to know people through social media, through YouTube, and yeah, it's pretty cool to see that more and more kids. I just still hope that all the kids that watch the YouTube videos and stuff gets out and gets riding and just not gets too stuck in there. So they still go out and take benefit of all the stuff they learn online. And
that's true. That is very true. But I think if you're not inspired to go and dig after watching the stuff that Matt's doing right now, and shout out to Matt because he's doing like these lockdown videos, and if you've seen him digging trails in the yard, and every time I've watched one and I'm like, fuck, I'm going digging. I just want to go digging. So hopefully it's doing that for loads of people.
That people are able to inspire and motivate people to go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
And as long as people are doing that, I think it's pretty good. Maybe not during the lockdown to go out and do too much crazy stuff, but as soon as this whole thing is over, it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go get on with your day. And again, massive thank you for taking the time out. I really appreciate it. And it's a wrap. All right.
Perfect.